welcome back. Still want to be a beekeeper? Episode 2, let's go. Last time we covered education, PPE, and some basic equipment. But in order to have bees, you need a beehive. I mean, sometimes they end up in the jacket, but that's not where they want to be, and they let you know. So let's talk about building your bees a nice home to live in when you get them. These double deep hives here are established colonies, but when you start with a nuke or a package, it's not going to start as a double deep. It'll start with a single, like this guy here. So when it comes to the topic of hives and style of hives, you have a lot of different options. You've got the typical Langstroth hive, you've got the long hives, you've got flow hives, you've got 10 frame equipment, you've got 8 frame equipment. If you're into the flow stuff, your options are like 6 frame and 7 frame. There's a lot of different options out there. And remember, what I'm telling you is not the way, it's just a way. And it's just how I do things or how we do things around here. So we use a 10 frame Langstroth hive. The difference between 10 frame and 8 frame equipment, 8 frame's a lot lighter. 8 frame does grow up a lot faster. There's just different ways to manage it. 10 frame can be incredibly heavy. It's about 20% heavier than your 8 frame stuff. So you can get your boxes assembled or unassembled. We get ours unassembled. It's not terribly hard to put them together. It's a little bit cheaper. But if you don't have the time, you're not comfortable doing it, or you just prefer to get a box already put together, get a box put together. You can use nails. Some folks use staples. I use screws and wood glue because I always have screws and wood glue on hand. Honestly, the corners of my boxes will probably be here forever while the outsides of them rot away from old age. You can get these boxes online. We get ours from our local bee supply store here in Western North Carolina. So if you're in Western North Carolina, check out Hoopers Creek Bee Company. Good people, and they're very patient and take the time to help you, teach you, things of that nature. So the nice thing about these unassembled boxes, it takes a little bit of the guesswork on where stuff goes. So you can see there's holes in each spot where you need to put a nail or a screw. Your short ends are your front and back. Your long ends here are your side to side. See the difference? All right, today the screws we have on hand are just some deck screws. That's what we're going to use. That's what we got on hand. I always have a bucket of these around. You can use 2-inch screws. These are 2.5. It might be a little overkill, but so here's our short end. One thing to keep in mind when you're putting these together, make sure your little handles here are on the same side. So we've got our short end here, and we're going to put glue in these notches. Not a lot, doesn't need a lot. Then we'll take our long end here. Get it all mashed together like so. And we'll start putting it together. And just like that, corner number 1 is all done. We'll go ahead and clean up this glue, and we'll get the rest of this knocked out. And now our box is all done. So this is a deep box. This is what you are going to use for your bees to live in. This is going to be where they'll raise their brood and keep food for themselves during the winter time. So what I would recommend if you're trying to get like a starter kit or build your own starter kit for beekeeping and for your hives that you're going to be getting, have 2 deep boxes ready to go. There is single deep management. I haven't dove down that rabbit hole yet, but double deep management is definitely a lot more beginner friendly from what I've been told. So get you another deep box, but on top of that, again, starter hive setup, you want to have your supers. Your supers are what you're going to use to take honey for you. That's going to be the extra honey that the bees store, and having those on hand is great. Likely you're not going to be getting honey your first year of beekeeping. I didn't start harvesting honey until my second year in, but having those supers on hand, just helpful. You just never know. So we'll go ahead and we'll put a super together. We use mediums. You can use a shallow super. A deep box full of honey is pretty heavy. A medium full of honey is pretty heavy. This is how much a 10 frame deep full of honey weighs. This is how much a 10 frame medium full of honey weighs. And this is how much a 10 frame shallow of honey weighs. We use mediums, we don't use shallows. I did end up pulling a deep full of honey from a hive that had absconded, but that's a rare situation. I pulled that honey, we kept some of it, and the rest of it we kept for the bees. But let's put this medium together. And ta-da, the medium's all done. All right, so we've got this mini hive here, but is it protected from weather? Probably not. So there's a couple options you have when it comes to protecting your woodenware. You can paint it, or you can get wax dipped. Some of the stuff that I received this year from another beekeeper was wax dipped. Let me show you. So this is the face of a deep that I haven't put together yet, but it's wax dipped. It gives a natural wood color. If you look closely, you can see there is a thick finish on it. And it's a natural coating that's weather resistant. Is it the best way? Maybe. Is it the way? No. What I've used most of the time, you can use a stain, you can use wax dip. I have painted my hives. As you've seen through the times that we've gone out there together and checked on beehives, mine are painted. But paint and stain can be expensive. So something I use to cut down on my cost of paint, I haven't stained any woodenware yet, but definitely paint, is I go to a local paint store and I get mismatched or mistinted paint that they can't resell. That's how I've painted all of my hives. For less than $10 a gallon, I've been able to buy paint and go ahead and paint all of my hives and all of my woodenware. Again, not the way, but a way. And we've been able to paint it some pretty colors too. Natural colors, that tan, that green, that blue that you've seen, all of that I've gotten as mistinted or mismatched paint that they can't resell for less than $10 a gallon. Now, starting out, your hive is just gonna need a single deep, like this, like the one we just put together, right? And you've painted it, or you've stained it, or you've gotten it wax coated, or it came however it came when you bought it pre-assembled if you didn't assemble it yourself. Well, there's a big problem here. There's no lid and there's no bottom. Where the bee is going to be safe from the weather and from other predators of bees. So you need a bottom and you need a top. So you've got a couple different options as far as bottom board is concerned. You can use what's called a screened bottom board. This one was given to me from some equipment from a beekeeper getting out of it. I personally just don't use the screened bottom boards, but now I have one available and I can experiment with it. Typically what I use is a solid bottom board. This one's made out of HDO plywood. If you can get one made out of HDO plywood, it lasts a lot longer, it's a lot more durable, but I have some that are made out of just regular wood that I've painted and it's done really well. So I use a solid bottom board, so that's what we're gonna use when we put this hive together. So I'll set that aside. The next thing we need is a roof. A home needs a roof, right? You have a couple different options. The main two you'll see are what they call a migratory lid. That's what I use. But I didn't start out using a migratory lid. Another popular lid is what they call a telescoping lid, which is this guy here. This is your outer lid, and then this is your inner cover. So it's a two-piece lid, works very well. Again, you can't go wrong with using one of these. Actually has a lot of insulative properties. And then this inner cover I've used to put different feed supplements and things on there, and almost used it like a feeding shim. But I went to the migratory lids because it makes moving bees a lot easier, and I've had to move bees around a little bit in the last couple years. You can stack the hives on top of each other a little easier, and they're honestly a little bit cheaper. But give both a try. That's the beauty of beekeeping, right? I treat it kind of like an experiment. I've tried different things, find out what works for me. You've got to find out what works for you. What I like, you may not. Again, that's the beauty of it. So we've got us a roof, we've got us a foundation, we've got the walls of the house, and we need to give these bees a space to live. And that's where frames come in. You have a few options for frames. I use wooden frames with plastic waxed foundation. Not the way, again, just a way. This foundation is coated in wax and encourages the bees to go ahead and start drawing out on there. What I like about these is it makes the frame very durable. So heat won't cause it to melt or collapse. You can drop them in the winter and it's not like they'll shatter. And when you're using your medium frames to harvest honey, the foundation of this plastic foundation here will help the comb from getting tore apart during honey extraction. But some folks prefer to use a more natural type of foundation, which is this waxed foundation. It's a lot more see-through. Again, it's wax. Some folks say that bees are more inclined to draw out on it. This is the first year that I've actually gotten a hold of some, so I'm interested to see what it does. But it's also a lot more flexible, as you can see. Another type of frame I was given this year was an all plastic frame. So this is a one-piece frame and the entire thing is plastic. I'm interested to see how it does. I didn't pay for these. These were given to me, but apparently they worked for the other guy. And another option that you have is foundationless. Some folks will sit here and they'll run wire across here and get the bees to just draw this whole thing without foundation. I may give that a try at some point. It's really great. This is a medium frame, so this is what you would see sitting in your medium super for honey. This is a great method if you want to be able to cut the comb out and sell people honeycomb. So that is something I may explore because I've actually gotten a lot of requests for comb. There's a couple different brands out there for foundation. You got Peerco, you've got Acorn, and you've got Premier, maybe some others. Those are the three that I use, and the bees do well and they draw out on all of them. But you want to make sure that the foundation you get is waxed. If you can get it double waxed, it's even better. It just stimulates the bees and helps them to draw it out. So we've got a roof, we got walls, we got a home, we've got a foundation. One thing that you have the option of doing, not everybody does it, I do, but is supplementally feeding your bees. And guess what? You've got options in that realm as well. This is a feeder that you sit on top of your hive. I was given it this year. Haven't used it yet, have never used one of these, but you sit it in the top of your hive like this. You pour sugar water in there, and you'll need an extra box. So this won't fit any frames, but you'll have to put an extra box on there, whether it be a deep or medium. You'll sit this feeder in there, you'll fill it up with sugar water, and the bees will come up through these holes here, and they'll drink the sugar water. The two that I've used that are most common are what they call a frame feeder, which goes inside your box. And how it works is you'll take these bands off. You'll fill the inside with sugar water. You will put the lid back on, you'll close it all back up, and the bees will crawl down in there using this little ladder system and get the sugar water. My preferred method that I use quite regularly is a 1 gallon bucket. But in order to do that, you need to cut a hole into the top of your lid. This is the saw that I got off Amazon to cut the hole in the top of the lid, and it fits this little tent plug here perfectly. I buy these buckets with the holes already cut in them. It's already got the tent plug in them. It's already got the holes in the plug. You can buy them from a local bee store. Blue Ridge Honey Company is close to us, and we use a lot of their stuff as well. And but you can also make these yourself. Not terribly hard. If you're going to use a mason jar, you can use a mason jar. I have used a mason jar. It's great for starting out nukes, smaller colonies. You'll just need a bigger saw. This is the one that I use for cutting holes that'll fit a mason jar in the top of the lid. But again, your preference. All right, now the last thing that I use for my hives is an entrance reducer. Again, not necessary. I just prefer to use one, especially for smaller colonies. When you use this smallest entrance reducer here, it just helps make it easier for them to defend their hive. It helps with some of the properties as far as like insulation, not letting a lot of draft in there. But again, you don't have to use one of these. They're not very expensive. You can even use like sticks, boards. You can be very creative with this. You don't have to buy a dedicated entrance reducer. You can use anything you want to reduce the entrance. I have used sticks, pieces of wood, and things like that, but we'll go ahead and we'll get this hive put together, and you can kind of see sort of what the very easy assembly process looks like. We got us a bottom board. We're going to use the solid bottom board, and then we'll put down our deep box. Like to make sure that the edges are flush with each other. And with this being a hive that is going to be a new hive, is going to be a smaller colony, I personally will go ahead and add my entrance reducer. I've already got some frames in here, and we'll put on our migratory lid. Well, let's say you didn't want to use a migratory lid and you wanted to use a telescoping lid. You'll simply add your inner cover, making it flush with the edges, and then you'll take your outer cover. And this is a telescoping lid. I would have to cover this up with a tent plug or something like that, but this is your outer cover. This is your inner cover. And you see we have frames. We'd have this full up with frames here, and it would be ready to go. So that's building your very first hive, right? You need a bottom board, you need a box, you need frames, and you need a roof. And if you're going to choose to supplementally feed your bees, you need some form of feeding source for them. That's it for episode 2. Next time, we're going to cover installing your very first nuke, and we'll talk a little bit about feeding as well. So thank you for following. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Continue to follow us for more. And again, if there's something that you would like to see, let us know, and we'll do what we can to answer any questions you have.